What's up, everybody? I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Today we're going to be jumping into a Lightroom tutorial. I'm going to be taking a photo that is pretty unusable straight out of camera and converting it into something like this. So I hope you guys enjoy. I'll also be jumping into Photoshop for a few edits and jumping back into Lightroom to do the final export. I hope you guys find this useful. If there's any other questions or maybe some details that I leave out, leave those questions in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the YouTube algorithm. Spread the word if you find this useful, and I hope you guys enjoy. For today's tutorial, I actually want to tackle this specific photo. It was taken on the beaches of Ipanema in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Back here we can see the favelas and just kind of get this beautiful sunset, which we'll try to bring to life. And we're gonna get rid of some guys. So let's kind of jump right into it. And as you can tell, this is a photo we have to just we need to save it. It's really dark. There's kind of a very neutral palette, but I see colors. I see that there's the blue in the water. I see the orange in the sky. And we're gonna try to bring all these elements out. So let's start off just by increasing the brightness overall. And I do want to give some context as to why the image is initially so dark. So I did take it understanding that I was going to edit this photo. Considering this is a raw image, there's a lot of information still in all the pixels. So I didn't want to blow out the sky. And I knew I was able to kind of save any dark shadows. I do want to mention that there was a cloud floating above here. So where you do see it's kind of hazy. It's essentially just like a low floating cloud, and we're not going to be able to do much because that is the image itself, so, and the environment. We're going to do a few things here. I'm going to straighten it up. And one thing that I know I want to do straight off the bat is center off the guy. So he's going to be our focus of attention. We're going to get rid of these guys later. So I actually want him on that lower third line. So let's go ahead and put him centered and aligned with our lower third at the bottom. All right. We'll do any minor tweaks or anything like that later on, but I do think that is exactly where I want him as my focus of attention. So let's go ahead and see what the shadows will do for us. Bring up that brightness quite a bit. All right, so straight off the bat, I do want to bring out this. So we're going to do a gradient mask at the bottom, and I selected this tool right here. So I'm going to go ahead and, as you can see, as I bring it up, or if I were to flip it, which is what we'll do for the sky, well, it'll go as far as essentially there, and with the gradient, it essentially smooths out that transition. But for now, let's go ahead and tackle the water itself. So there's a few things here. It's obviously too bright, so we're going to restart that. But I know where it's affecting. I do like to do that. I like to kind of make it awkwardly bright just to see the area that's being affected. And then from that point, I'll just know where the area that I'm working with, and then I'll restart. So one thing I want to do specifically to this bottom area is actually add some more blue to it. And then for the most part, I think we're at a good point for now. We could revisit that. Now I want to do that same kind of concept, and I want to bring that gradient mask, like I said, from up there. From this point forward, actually, one thing is that there's orange in the sky, and that's because it was sunset. And I want to bring that out. So one way I can do it is actually kind of manipulating it, the color temperature, to feel more orange, which I'm a huge fan of. The goal of this image is actually to make this guy look like he's surfing in complete solitude. For context, I was actually on the beach. I was on the sand when I took this photo, so it was pretty far away. And I took this with a 24 to 105 on my Canon 6D. So the next thing I want to do is actually jump in and create this mask right here. So I wanted to, this tool right here serves more as a spotlight. As you can see, it's affecting this outside area. So what we're gonna need to do is actually invert it so that it affects the area I've selected. So boom, there we go. Like I said, I keep it at 1 so I see the affected area. I see what's going on essentially. And then I bring it back and then I start from there. So I want it to feel quite a bit like a spotlight. I want to bring some detail out of him, not make it look too fake. So the next thing I want to affect, so I actually do want to exaggerate these blues quite a bit more. So we're going to go ahead and see what happens when we manipulate the aqua to begin with. So I do want to lean more towards that green tint. It's very natural to see that in water when it's so blue. You really only see that in the deep ocean. If you've ever been on a cruise, you know how blue the water gets when you're just in the middle of nowhere, and that's not the vibe you get when you're near the shore. So we do want to get that aqua green tint going. All right, and I am bringing up that saturation on there. Let's see what happens as well when we affect our blues well. Okay, so that was quite a bit. I'm gonna just do -5 and kind of increase the saturation mostly. We can affect our luminance. I think actually adding some luminance there at around 44, 45. I'm just gonna dial in 45. So I typically always do the lens correction based on the metadata of the photo. It is a raw photo, so there's a lot of information, and baked into that is the lens that I took. So Lightroom goes ahead and it does a profile correction for my lens. Like I said, it was a Canon 24 to 105, and typically always kind of manipulate those, turn those on. Another thing I'm going to want to do, and you can see that it changed it when I turned on the profile correction. So what happens out of camera, and there's not much you could do about it, happens with almost every lens, is there's some vignette going on from your lens. So the edges are quite darker, and when you turn on the profile correction, it takes that away. It also kind of takes away that distortion that is created from when you zoom in on your lens and such. So actually, although I took it away, I do want to add it back specifically to my liking. So, and like I said, the center of attention here is our guy surfing right here in the middle. So by adding some vignette, we are adding more attention to the center of the image and taking attention away from the edges. So there we are. I do want to revisit this bottom mask. So you can see this red area is my selection. It's just letting me know that that's the area being affected. And I want to revisit this and actually add a bit more contrast, and with that I actually might lower the whites. I feel like they are quite exaggerated. Say about 20. All right. So for now, I actually want to jump into Photoshop. So Photoshop is going to give us our ability to get rid of all these guys. I can try getting it done with the clone stamp within Lightroom, but I know Photoshop can do a much better job in less time. So I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to render in Lightroom, so my export and everything will be happening in Lightroom. So what it's currently doing, as you can see at the top, it's prepping the file for editing. It's about to power up my Photoshop, and with that, it's actually creating a TIFF file, which is a really large file, and that's essentially the file that is being edited in Photoshop, and then that will later be imported automatically. You'll see as I finish this, it's already updating in Lightroom in real time. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to see how much we can get done with content aware. So I will select. So one thing that I do notice straight off the bat is that this guy is causing a reflection in this area right here. I want to make sure I get rid of that as well. So go ahead, do my selection, and I right click, fill, content aware. Boom. All right. So it's done a pretty good job. I will revisit this area if I feel like, with the clone stamp, if I feel like I want to kind of touch it up quite a bit. So right now, let's just worry about getting rid of all these other guys. With our clone stamp tool, we're going to hit Alt and create our selection. So I kind of want to sample from here. I just kind of want to add to this area. Make it feel a little more natural. So here we are. Wow, this image is beautiful. So I'm actually going to go ahead and save it. And like I said, it actually converted this image no longer from a Canon RAW file, but now it's a TIFF file, because it's saving all this data that we essentially edited in Photoshop. Boom. And now you can see my Lightroom's kind of freaking out over here because it's trying to process that. And boom, we already have the dudes are all gone in this image. And we're in a really good place. So as you guys remember, we started off the image with it very dark. This was out of camera, shot in RAW, so we knew we had a lot of information. We saw colors, we were able to bring those out. We knew how we wanted to compose the image with cropping, and on top of that, we essentially colored, and then we did a few minor edits in Photoshop to get rid of these guys. We took this image, which was practically, let's say, to any other person, useless, and now we've converted it into this. Pretty crazy. So I hope you guys enjoyed that tutorial. I'll be doing a few more of these, and this is actually one of my favorite images I've taken to date, and it's pretty crazy that it came from that horrible out of camera image, or I wouldn't call it horrible, but it wasn't great. So here we are, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.